Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you're joining us from. Welcome to another Rhapsody Live webcast from Buffet Crampon, USA. My name is Matt Vance. I'm the Woodwind product specialist located at our North American headquarters here in Jacksonville, Florida. I'd like to welcome you to our webcast this evening and thank you for joining us. This is a kind of a special edition of Rhapsody Live, as we're going to be talking about something that we talked about a few months ago, and it's called the Pedagogics Project. And I'm excited to be joined once again by Buffet Crampon USA educational advisor, Paula Corley. But we have two very special guests that are going to be kind of filling us in on their experiences with the Pedagogics Project. From El Paso, Texas, Jonathan Reyes is joining us. And from Vancouver, Washington, Scott Hamilton. So welcome to all three of you, and thank you for joining us this evening. It is our pleasure to have you on Rhapsody Live. And Paula, I'm going to start with you. I don't want to waste too much time on this, but we weren't even sure you were going to be joining us this evening because of the unusual weather, I'll put it that way, that you're having in Texas right now.
Oh my goodness, and Jonathan has it too. We had an ice storm. And it's been pretty brutal around here today. You know, the popping and the tree limbs are everywhere. And I'll be glad when it's over. The sun is supposed to be out tomorrow, but tonight I'm being told that we have wind chills down to 0. And it's Austin. I mean, come on, we're too far south for this.
Right. Well, we're really glad you were able to join us tonight. And Jonathan, too, I didn't even realize, Jonathan, that you were going to be dealing with some of the same issues over in El Paso, but it's a little unusual for Texas to be having that kind of weather, and we're certainly glad that everybody is here this evening. I'm going to kind of turn things over to Paula a little bit. If you recall from our last webcast where we talked about the Pedagogics Project, Paula is a longtime Buffet Crampon artist, one of our most respected clarinet artists and a world-renowned clarinet pedagogue. And she was a very obvious choice for us when we initiated the Pedagogics Project in 2021. And the project has really taken off, and we've been very excited to see how things have progressed, how they've grown, and how we've been able to help music educators around the United States and Canada. And Scott and Jonathan have been gracious enough to join us this evening as two educators that can talk firsthand about their experiences with the Pedagogics Project. But Paula, I'm going to turn things over to you now and kind of get us started on the Pedagogics Project. Maybe talk a little bit briefly to remind people of what the Pedagogics Project does provide for music educators.
Absolutely. The Pedagogics Project is a free service. We have a website, pedagogicsproject.com, and on the site, you can look through, we have 50 artists from various instruments. I think we have everything but bassoon. And those artists have agreed to lend their service to us to do free classes for you, for organized band programs, homeschool, university. We have done some university classes, adult learners, community band, but most of all, the public schools and secondary band programs, because we know that there are a lot of people out there that don't have access to specialists on every instrument. And maybe your kids have never had a private lesson or don't have access to that. And you're listening to them and you know that they could sound better, but maybe you're a saxophone player and you're working with trumpets. I know if that was me, I would be calling immediately. But it's an absolute free service to organize band programs with a director. And take a look at the site. There's a lot of information on there. It should be pretty clear, but if you have any questions at all, my email is on there, paula.corley@buffetcrampon.com. Send me an email and I will write you back. I'm real excited to have these two guys with us today because they represent two very different programs. And I thought it might be interesting for all of us to hear about what they do on a daily basis and where they're from. So Jonathan, let's start with you. So you're not really a neighbor. El Paso is a long way from me, but tell us you're from, as I remember, the Del Valle area schools in El Paso. Tell us a little bit about your program, the schools that you teach in, and how your like day-to-day schedule is set up.
Oh, certainly. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here and sharing my personal experience with the Pedagogics Project. So I've been a teacher for since 2013, actually. So it's already 9 years now. So it's pretty exciting. And I thought that throughout my time I've had different experiences, but it's been very similar since I started. I was hired to be an itinerant teacher in Isleta ISD here in El Paso, and I've been able to help various programs throughout our city, and primarily was hired to retain, and recruit, or recruit, retain, and keep some of our band kids. We have competitive STEM programs, competitive just electives and other electives here and there that we have in our classes and in our schools. So my day pretty much goes like this. I spend the day at the high school, and I do some jazz ensembles. I am a saxophone specialist, woodwind specialist, so I do jazz and saxophone in the mornings. Travel to an elementary school where I co-teach with another teacher, Del Valle Elementary School, and she's a flutist. Her name is Gloria Campos. She's amazing. I couldn't work with anybody else because we do work really well together. And from there, I go to Mission Valley Elementary School, where I teach another 5th grade elementary program. We do have 5th grade band here in El Paso, and very different from other areas in the state or other areas in the country. We also do some middle school time, and that's where we split the majority of our kids, and we can do some homogeneous classes and things like that.
But basically, your beginners, I'm sorry to interrupt. Basically,
No.
your beginners are all, you get to have instrument-specific beginner classes.
Thankfully, in our area, we have enough directors to actually to be able to do that. So we do have some brass specialists. We do have some woodwind specialists in the area. However, we're all assigned to a specific campus. Me as an itinerant, I get to jump wherever they need me in the area. Yes. So that's exactly what I'm hired to do, and it's incredible. I get to support all these programs, and we've been grateful enough to develop very good vertical alignment in our area. So we do, we have 4 amazing directors at the high school, 2 amazing directors at the middle school, and then 2 that focus in the elementaries. And we elementary directors, we're the itinerant ones. We're the ones that move everywhere. We support all the other schools. So it's
awesome. a wonderful, optimal teaching situation.
Yeah.
To be in where you have the instrument specific classes and you have enough people to really, get everything done. And I can't wait to hear what Scott has to say because Scott is from Vancouver, as Matt said, and I suspect that his day is totally different. So take it away, Scott. Tell us about what you do on a daily basis.
On a daily basis, I teach at a high school. Our high school is designed for kids who want to go into the medical field. But when it started, the parents wanted music as well. So our music program has grown. I am the music teacher here. So I teach band, choir, and orchestra. A little crazy, but I enjoy the different aspects. I've been a singer for quite a while. I play percussion and piano, so I played in bands and orchestras, and now I put it all together. We also have an A-B schedule at our school, which is, there are some good and bad. Good that every rehearsal is about 90 minutes long. Unfortunately, I only see them 3 times a week. I have 2 90-minute sessions and then a 45-minute session. So, during those rehearsals, we can get a lot done, and I do a lot of sectional work. But it's hard when it's only 3 days a week. The retention sometimes is very difficult. I got Well, no, I'll go off on that later. Sorry. One thing that, like Jonathan was mentioning, there's lots of teachers, music teachers in our district. We have a very large district in Washington State, and we each have our specialties. And I was going to say during the remote learning, we had weekly meetings, and I learned so much from my colleagues because we actually met together every week, and I picked their brains each time, and that was really beneficial. Although we each have our own programs, so it's difficult to have one of them come over and visit my school with kids there because they have their own program at the same time.
So your program is opposite in many ways, because you're like the one guy that does everything, and you don't have somebody there on a day-to-day basis like Jonathan has specialists who work with him. So this is perfect because this gives us two completely different perspectives about what your impressions were of the Pedagogics Project. So let me ask you this question first. Scott, how did you hear about Pedagogics?
I got an email through our district, excuse me. Our district music supervisor got word of this and said, hey, if anyone wants to try this out. And I am always looking for specialists. I'm always calling in, a string specialist, a brass specialist, woodwinds, anything like that, as much as I can. So one is it was a remote thing that I could do a Zoom class with them. And two, it was free. And and the people that I looked at the website, like, man, these people are impressive. So those were things that really spoke to me. And I jumped.
That's great. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Okay, Jonathan, how did you find out about us?
Just in regular conversation with one of my mentor teachers. There's several people that I have in my that I just always pick their brains throughout the city, right? And I always go to this band director at the time. He's now retired, and he just casually mentioned, "Hey, have you checked out the Pedagogics Project on Buffet? We always just randomly talk random stuff that's out there." So I did, and that's how we got in contact.
That's great. Well, see, so it's working. This is great. It's coming from very diverse sources, which is really, really good. Okay, so what I would like to ask next, I know that Jonathan, I'd like to tell everybody, really got a good taste of Pedagogics because he has 3 different elementary schools that he travels to. So we had 3 different clinicians work with your kids for clarinet and flute. And so you had quite an array, an introduction to everything that we have to offer because there were some very different personalities. The first thing I'm going to ask you is, what did the kids think? Did they say anything afterwards? What did the kids say?
The kids are very outspoken and they're very honest. Truly, they really enjoyed it. They were excited. They didn't want to leave the classroom just because they were speaking to somebody that was, a university professor. And I'm the type of person that hypes up everything for them. This is a university professor, could give you a scholarship in the future, and make sure you make a good impression and hype them up. And the kids were extremely excited to be there. They were on their best behavior. That was probably the best they've ever behaved in my classroom ever.
That's great. I mean, that's why you bring guests in. That was always fun, right, especially if you work with middle school. Scott, I know a little bit about what you might say to this, but what did your flute class think? You had quite a go-getter. You had, you had Naomi Seidman.
Yes.
Hey, she's hot stuff, isn't she?
Oh my goodness. She treated our flutes with the utmost respect, and when they make sounds, like wonderful. I mean, she was so encouraging.
She's very positive.
I was encouraged after the class. I have, small bands here. Like my bands are like 20 to 25 students. And in one of my bands, half of them are flutes. So I think, how do I work with a band that's half flutes? And I'm looking at the Pedagogic Project and said, you could, there's a flute instructor there. So I grabbed onto that first. And I had flutes from each program. So I had roughly 14 or 15 flutists in my room at the time. And she supplied me with exercise material, and it got my students ready. I passed those all out to my students, so they were ready to go. And like Jonathan said, they were on their best behavior. They were excited to be there. They wanted to play, and they felt so good. Naomi also did a debrief at the end. What did you pick up today? And we keep going on that, actually. So it was so fun.
Cool. And then Jonathan you had 3 clarinet, 3 flute teachers as well, and on all these different campuses, which was kind of wild to see all those classes. I was going, wow, how do you keep up with all those kids? So what would you tell, this is a question for both of you. What would you tell somebody who is just so tired? Oh no, not another Zoom session. I don't want to do that. I've got to have live instruction. What would you tell a fellow band director about this program that you liked, that might encourage them to contact us and participate?
I was also skeptical. I was, at the same time, I was curious. I'm a strong believer that, if you want a different outcome in your program, you cannot continue doing things the same way every single year. Something has to change. So something we always make fun of in the Delphi area is the fact that we never teach something the same way. We're always trying to figure something out, resolve an issue, but everything is always different. I was skeptical, of course, but obviously I gave it a try, and it was extremely excited for it. I found it as an opportunity for my students to have a different perspective. They always hear the same things from me, but maybe if they heard it from somebody else, maybe they'd have a different reaction. Thankfully, we did it a little bit different. We started 5th grade band a little bit different. We started with recorded the first semester, and towards the end of October, we did a typical petting zoo, and we hyped it up again. The kids selected their instruments. We helped them select their instruments. We made the best choice for them. And we gave them a deadline, have your instrument by this time. So for these Zoom sessions, they would have them ready. So literally at the Zoom sessions, the kids were opening up their clarinet cases right off the bat. So they were taking off the wrapping, and they were extremely excited. And that was their first experience on the instrument, was with a college professor. So with Dr. Kemmler on flute, Dr. Cook on clarinet, Dr. Kirkpatrick on flute. So they had that was their first experience. And that was my perspective. How can I recruit some students? How can I make sure that this is fun for them? They're into this virtual world already. Might as well reach them where they're at. And
that's a good, I need to remember that, reach where they are, because that is true. And we think that virtual is here to stay, in some form. And we would all like to be back in person. But at the end of the day, if you could have a free service like this virtually, why not? Scott, same question for you. What would you tell people who are reluctant, that are suffering from pandemic virtual fatigue?
Another voice, like Jonathan said, that what I was thinking too, when you go to contests, when you go to solo ensemble contests, you tell your student some things over and over again. The adjudicator says the same thing, and the student goes, oh, now I get it. I don't know how that happens, but another voice saying the same thing or saying it differently, it's another voice that confirms what they should be doing, and they do it. It's crazy.
That's exactly right. I agree with you 100%. Okay,
well, I'm also sorry.
No, go for it.
I'm a percussion pianist, and I know how to play the other instruments. And the students often ask me, "Can you play flute?" I said, "Yes, I suck at it, but I can." So to bring somebody else in as an expert in that instrument, I am not that bold to say, no one else can teach it like me. I can't be that person. I'm not that person. As I'm grabbing onto anything else I can to anyone who wants to come in and help my students, because I want them to be the best that they can be.
I would say a big amen to that. No, I feel the same way. Okay, so I have to ask this. Do you have some suggestions for us of things that we could do better with the service and how we're doing? I mean, was the registration easy? I mean, the communication, what could you tell us that we could do better? Or if there's nothing, we're doing a good job, we'd like to hear that too.
Okay, I'll go. Jonathan hesitated, so I'll go. Registration was super easy. And the material that the professor supplied, all that, she was totally prepared. I don't know if it's possible, but I would love to have someone do the full band experience, especially since I have a smaller group. And I was playing it around with different camera settings and all this stuff and different microphones and stuff. But to have someone do a full band experience, since I do have a smaller program, and I only have like one alto sax, a bari sax, a tuba, a trombone, things like that, But so that's why the flute was a logical starting place. But
No, that's a good suggestion. And actually, we have someone on our advisory board that had brought that up to me earlier. And hearing it from you, he's probably, if he's watching, he's going, see, I told you. So, no, but I understand. And especially when you have an odd instrumentation, it would be nice to have someone, that could come in and say, hey, how about, do you know this piece of music? Or have you just move your bari player over here? For better balance. Yeah, no, that's a great suggestion. Jonathan, what about you? What can we do better?
That was actually what was on my mind, doing a full band project, perhaps. I know that it would be something cool that our local high schools could totally benefit from. I know that in the technical perspective from us, we would need, to get some, equipment or things like that to better the sound that's going to, travel to you all. But it's something that we could maybe perhaps work out in the next coming months.
Good suggestion. Okay. All right, Matt, I'm all out of questions. Those are my very best ones. So.
That was fantastic. I do want to once again welcome everyone that's joining us on the webcast. I know we've had some people tune in since we got started at 6 p.m. Eastern. You are watching a webcast about the Pedagogics Project. It's an exciting new educational initiative from Buffet Crampon USA. We're being joined by music educators Scott Hamilton in Vancouver, Washington, and Jonathan Reyes in El Paso, Texas. And it is our thrill to have them joining us along with our educational advisor, Paula Corley, who has been coordinating the Pedagogics Project for us. Francois Clark is our president and CEO of Buffet Crampon USA. He's actually up outside of Boston this evening at the Powell Flutes Boston headquarters and manufacturing site. And he chimed in to say, great seeing everybody. And thank you all for doing the webcast this evening. And he is a staunch advocate of music education. Of course, the Pedagogics Project was his inspiration, and it's great to have him joining us from Massachusetts this evening, where I think he's going to get a little more winter weather that you guys are, it's heading his way, actually. I do want to invite our viewers, if you have any questions for us about the Pedagogics Project, please put it in our comments section. We will be happy to address that and do our best to answer your questions in the last few minutes that we have here. For Paula or for either one of our music educators joining us this evening on their experiences with the clinicians that we are able to provide free of charge through the Pedagogics Project. We actually have a question from Cliff Bennett. Cliff Bennett is one of my wonderful colleagues here in Jacksonville at Buffet Crampon USA. He's our customer service manager. He's asking, is the form designed for students or how to reach adults that left the music industry and want to come back but have no idea how? That is a great question. Paula, I think I'll let you field that one if you don't mind.
Okay, could Matt, you cut out a little bit. Could you repeat the first part of the question?
Sure. Is the Pedagogics Project designed for students, or how to reach adults that left the music industry and want to come back but have no idea how?
Oh, absolutely everybody. I expect at some point that we will have interest from community groups and adult learners. I don't know how many people still have groups like the New Horizons bands that are out there for people who start playing at 65 and keep going. So we're for everybody. And the only thing that I really need to register them is a contact person, someone who's in charge. So that, if you have a group that meets on a regular basis together with a director or an organizer, that's all that we need. One of the things that's coming up that's exciting is one of our flutists, the name escapes me, I can't remember exactly who, I think it's Amy Lykar, is going to be a guest artist for the Kansas Flute Society very soon. So we're really excited about that because that's the whole state. And we're trying to get a date and a time that works for them. So yes, bring the adult learners, absolutely. And homeschool too. There are a lot of kids that
Nice.
learn instruments in homeschool settings. We are available to everybody that has an organized instrumental music program.
Awesome. Great question, Cliff. Thank you for contributing that. I have a question for our two guests this evening. I am a product of a band program in a small town in North Carolina. And while we had a university in our town, it's Boone, North Carolina, Appalachian State University, we had a large music education program at the university, but we really didn't have opportunity for clinicians to come in on a regular basis because of the remote location where we were. And it was a fairly small program. And I wonder if you guys could talk a little bit about the access that the Pedagogics Project provides for any type of program. Scott, I think you're a perfect example with the fact that you are having to wear a lot of different hats. You have kind of a non-traditional instrumentation for your group. Maybe talk about the fact that this program isn't just for giant band programs in Texas or in New York. So if either one of you could maybe elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, the access, the availability is, since this last 2 years, so much advancement has been made in video chats like this one and video pedagogy. Is it video pedagogy? Who would have thought?
It's a thing.
It is needed. And yeah, I mean, if you have internet access, you have availability to this. I'm in an extremely fortunate area where I'm right across the river from Portland. So we have access to the Portland Symphony, the Oregon Symphony, and Vancouver is a fairly metro area. We have lots of connections there, but anybody can have access to that and can gain knowledge from all of these the experts that they have here. I can't say enough about that.
Yeah, that's great. Jonathan, same question for you.
I think it was actually it's an amazing opportunity. El Paso is not a large city like Austin or other cities like Jacksonville, Florida, or anything. So we only have one university in town, and that is University of Texas at El Paso. So our amazing professors out there, they will, I've had them come down here and help our students out, but there's only so much they can do as well, since the university is about maybe close to 45 minutes to an hour on light traffic to get here. So I know travel time for them is a bit crazy and stuff like that. So easy access is the Pedagogics Project, honestly, because it's just a click away and it's a message away to Miss Corley. And that's, how rapidly we scheduled those classes. I mean, it was incredible. I think it only took, what, 2 weeks, Miss Corley, I believe,
To get 6 classes set up
to get all the classes set up,
and
Zoom
6
links and
clinicians.
everything.
Yeah,
6
it was
clinicians.
fun.
And
It
it was a great opportunity, and especially to have these professors from I don't know where I don't remember specifically from where they're at, but they're from around the country, and they're amazing, talented, knowledgeable professors that without this virtual setting, we wouldn't have been able to meet them, or even have a lesson with them, much less. So
that's a great point.
Yes.
Because the cost now of bringing clinicians in is outrageously expensive. And this way, it's a free service to all of the directors for their students. And it's so easy to do. And we know that it doesn't replace, one-on-one and someone live in the class, but still the opportunity, like you say, to study with an expert. And I would like to say a big thank you to all 50 artists who are participating, because it's so nice for me as a teacher my entire life to be able to sit back and observe really great teaching and expertise on instruments that I know very little about. And this has been terrific fun. They also are all dedicated teachers. They're good players, but teaching is very much a part of their lives and probably the focus, for most of them. I think there are a few that have, symphony jobs that are pretty regular, but most of them, like you say, are college professors. So that's a focus, because you've got research, you've got tenure to worry about, you've got all of these things, that they're doing, and they want to be good at it because that's what they have decided is important to them in life. So I want everybody to know that they're teaching. We've got great teachers, really great teachers.
Well, and I think Jonathan brought up a very good point, the accessibility to literal world-class artists. And I think it's worth reminding people too. I think when people see Buffet Crampon up there, they automatically assume that we're talking about clarinet artists. Of course, we have clarinet artists that are available within the Pedagogics Project, but we have artists on all the woodwind and brass instruments. And I think a lot of people overlook the fact that with world-class brands like BNS, like Melton Meinl Weston, Hans Hoyer French horns, we have access to brass artists in addition to woodwind artists. And I hope people will take advantage of both instrument families when they're considering trying to get a clinician in for their music program.
Absolutely. We've got jazz specialists. And
another great point.
Yeah, we've got one of our saxophone players played with the Charlie Mingus band. We've got a trumpet player that played, great guy, a lot of energy, Mark Pender, who played with Conan O'Brien's band for many years. And he's always out on tour with somebody, but great energy, great knowledge of jazz and big band. So we've got that too. Got a lot of good stuff. Just come visit the site. That's all you have to do is just go there and take a look.
Guys, we're going to wrap up here in just a couple of minutes. I'll remind everyone once again, if you do have any questions for our guests this evening, you can put it in our comments section. Final questions for you guys. What do you have planned for the remainder of your school year as far as your goals for 2022 and getting through the academic year and measures for success even in these unusual times? Jonathan, why don't you start out?
Of course. I spoke to Ms. Corley already. We are just, once we know this whole STAR testing schedule, we can start scheduling some more these lessons with the Pedagogics Project, specifically for my brass students. I want them to have an experience there too. So something I wanted to add on previously was the fact that I not only used it for my students, I actually took it as a personal like a curriculum enrichment opportunity for myself. And even though, yes, I can teach clarinet, I can teach flute, I can teach these instruments, I can teach brass, I can play trumpet, I can do all these things. but there's an expert on this other instrument, on these other instruments that that I'm learning how to do, and I have a different approach to it now because of so. So I was watching Dr. Cook teaching clarinet, and I thought to myself, "Oh my goodness, I'm overcomplicating this." So I explained it again to my students, and they're understanding it. So it's incredible to just have a different perspective as well. Like I added at the beginning, I don't like to do things the same way every single year. I like to have a different. If you want a different outcome, you have to have a different approach to it. A different teaching style. I have to change my teaching style, take what I like, keep what I like, and discard what's not working. And this is a great opportunity for teachers like myself, young teachers like myself, to actually learn and refresh our pedagogy and get better at it as well.
Jonathan, I think that's a great point. The fact that as people learn more about the Pedagogics Project, they're assuming that this is for the students in the program. And of course it is, but it's a great point that a lot of people consider and that I hadn't considered as much. And you really drove the point home that this is an opportunity for music educators to also learn from the artist clinicians that we have involved in the Pedagogics Project. That's a really great point that I think people need to keep in mind as they consider putting in an application for a clinician. What about you, Scott?
It helps me to remind the students, if I mention something about what the professor went over, oh yeah, I remember that. Like one of the basic things, like bring the instrument to you, not you to the instrument. Things like that I have to, when I remind them, oh yeah, and they remember that. I'm just thinking about ways I can use this program to my benefit. I've only used flute, and now I'm thinking, well, there's all these other experts out there. How can I arrange my class so the other students can get something done? But okay, all saxophones today. Okay, next week we're going to do all brass, and so I'm really looking forward to working with more of these of the experts in the field.
Yeah, fantastic. Paula, what do you have to add this evening?
I just want to thank both Scott and Jonathan for taking the time to do this. Jonathan and I are snowed in, but Scott is not. And of course, Matt lives in sunny Florida, so he has no worries. But thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you today, but it was also really wonderful for me to be able to observe you and your classes and your students. And I really appreciate the feedback from both of you and taking the time to let other people know about this great program that we've got going. And we hope that more people will take advantage of it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's such a pleasure having all of you join us on Rhapsody Live this evening. Once again, a reminder that if you would like to learn more about the Pedagogics Project, it's very simple. Our producer, Warren Coos, has included the web address in the comments section, but it's pedagogicsproject.com. And if you're a dummy like me and you can't spell pedagogics, it's pedagogicsproject.com. And yes, I did practice that before I came on this evening's webcast. I'm a saxophonist, as you might suspect. If you would like some more information directly and you have any questions, you can contact Educational Advisor Paula Corley from Buffet Crampon USA. Paula, what's the best way to reach you?
Email. And my email is on the site. When you go to the registration page, it'll almost after every little explanation, it'll say questions, and you can just click the link to my email. But again, it's my name, paula.corley@buffetcrampon.com.
Yeah, and so that's Corley, and then Buffet Crampon is BUFFETCRAMPON.com. And you wouldn't believe some of the misspellings we get of that as well.
Exactly.
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome.
It has been a pleasure meeting you both. It's been a pleasure helping your programs with the Pedagogics Project. I sincerely hope that you continue to take advantage of the program and you encourage your colleagues in your area and around the country to take advantage of the Pedagogics Project. If any of our viewers are going to be at the TMEA conference in San Antonio next week, we will have more information on this at our booth as well, and we'll be happy to discuss it with you if you have any questions about the Pedagogics Project. Jonathan, I'll look forward to seeing you there, as well as you, Paula, and Scott. We will be sure to enjoy a margarita in your honor on the Riverwalk in San Antonio. So
I'll make my own.
very good. And just a reminder that Rhapsody Live is a monthly webcast from Buffet Crampon USA. Every Thursday at 6, or every first Thursday, excuse me, at 6 p.m. Eastern. We are joined by artists talking about all different kinds of things, including our instruments and what our artists are up to. My brass product specialist colleague, Warren Coos, will be the host in a month. And I sincerely hope you join him for that, as he'll be talking about our brass products. Also, a reminder that if you haven't checked out our YouTube channel, you can go to YouTube and search Buffet Crampon Rhapsody Live. It archives all of these webcasts, as well as performance videos from our artists and other good stuff. I certainly encourage you to check that out. Once again, thank you to Jonathan, thank you to Scott, and thank you to the lovely Paula Corley for joining us this evening. And I wish you all good health and take care, and we will see you again in a month. Thank you.